Hello and welcome to Hope After. This podcast is for Christian wives and for couples navigating the impact pornography has had on a marriage. But today I'm speaking especially to you, the woman who has discovered your husband's porn use and doesn't know where to begin. If you're listening because something has come to light and your body feels tense, sick, frozen or overwhelmed, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not overreacting. You're not weak for struggling. And if you're a woman of faith, stabilising yourself and protecting your heart in these early days is not unbiblical, it's wise. These episodes are here to steady you. And if at any point you find yourself thinking, I need more support than a podcast can give, there are a couple of ways that we can help you, the details of which are in the show notes. For now, let's focus on what you need first. If you're listening to this, there's a strong chance you didn't choose to be here. You may have discovered pornography on a phone, a laptop, an app, or it may have come through a confession, and suddenly everything feels unreal. Your thoughts may be racing, your stomach may feel sick. You may feel desperate for answers and at the same time terrified of what you'll find. So let me tell you what this episode is not. It's not about fixing your marriage today. It isn't about deciding your future today. And it isn't about you becoming some sort of detective, counsellor or peacekeeper overnight. This episode is about stabilisation, so the pain doesn't keep escalating. Because in shock, you can accidentally injure yourself further simply by trying to survive. And I want to protect you from that. In the early days after discovery, women often say things like, I can't eat, or I can't sleep, or I can't stop seeing it in my mind. They describe their chest feeling tight, their hands shaking, their thoughts looping, and their nervous system acting as though a threat is still present, even when the house is quiet. I want to slow that down and explain what's happening, not clinically, not in jargon, but just plainly. Your sense of safety has been shattered. And once safety collapses, your body begins trying to answer one urgent question. How do I make sure this never happens again? That question is exhausting because your mind wants certainty, and certainty doesn't exist yet. So you keep scanning, you keep checking, you keep replaying. You keep bracing for impact. That isn't irrational, it's shock. And if you found yourself thinking, why do I feel like I'm going mad? I want you to hear me, you're not. This is what the early days can feel like when the reality is split in two. I want to tell you what those early days looked like for me, because I wish someone had said to me then, of course you're doing this. Of course you feel like this. Of course your mind is scrambling for something solid. When I first discovered it, I felt physically sick. I remember my hands shaking. I couldn't think clearly. And my mind just kept replaying what I'd seen as though repetition might turn it into something I could actually bear. At first, I didn't want it to be true. Not dramatic denial, just that desperate internal searching for another explanation. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. Maybe someone else had used the device, because accepting that this was part of my marriage, it just felt unbearable. And once it sank in, I did what many women do. I became obsessed with details. I checked histories repeatedly. I analysed words, timings, patterns, as if understanding more would make it hurt less, but it didn't. It fed the loop. It didn't soothe my nervous system. It inflamed it. I couldn't sleep, and when I did sleep, I woke up panicked, braced for impact, as though my body had decided the night itself was unsafe. And there's another response I want to name gently because it's so common and so misunderstood. I made myself sexually available, not from desire, but through fear. Part of me believed that if I could somehow fill whatever gap I imagined porn had filled, then maybe this wouldn't happen again. But it didn't create closeness. It left me even more disconnected from myself and from Jez, as though I'd abandoned my own body in order to try and keep the marriage safe. If any of that resonates, the compulsive checking, the spiraling thoughts, the panic, the sense that you need to be better, calmer, more available, or more forgiving, please hear this. There is nothing wrong with you. These are trauma responses, not character flaws. And the goal today is not to shame those responses, it's to help you steady yourself so they don't keep escalating. Very early on, a thought almost always appears. Sometimes it arrives as a whisper, sometimes as a scream, but it's there all the same. Was I not attractive enough? Was I not sexual enough? Was I not enough? I want to answer that plainly. Your husband did not turn to porn because of how you look, not because of your body, not because of your age, not because you weren't enough in bed, not because you didn't do enough, not because you weren't enough. Pornography is never a replacement for a wife. It is very often a replacement for coping, for regulation, for escape. And you might be thinking, oh, well, that's all very well for him, but what about me? I need you to know that it offers novelty without intimacy, stimulation without vulnerability, control without relationship. And you might be thinking, well, that's all very well, but shouldn't he want to be in a relationship? Shouldn't he want to be vulnerable with me? It's a private world where nothing is required of a man except consumption. And yes, that does make him sound shallow, but there's more beneath. If porn was simply about finding a better woman, then men with loving, beautiful, sexually available wives would all be immune, and we're not. So if this discovery has made you question your worth, that's injury speaking, not truth. And what you're feeling is not insecurity, it's injury. There is a difference, and that difference matters. In this stage, there are some things that can intensify pain, even though they feel urgent. I'm going to talk about them gently because I'm not here to scold you. I'm here to protect you. Rushing yourself into forgiveness is one of them. If forgiveness comes, it must come from truth and safety, not pressure. Demanding every detail is another. I understand why you want details. We're women, we need to know. Your nervous system thinks, if I know everything, I'll be safe. But in those early days, more information doesn't always create more safety. Sometimes it creates more images in your mind, more comparison, more intrusive thoughts, more looping. Trying to fix him is another trap. You can support a process, yes. You can insist on conditions, yes. But you cannot heal a man's repentance on your back. You cannot do his recovery for him. You can't heal a wound you didn't create by becoming more accommodating. And then there's the pressure to decide your future immediately. Stay, go, separate, forgive, move on. These questions feel urgent, but they're rarely answerable while you're in shock. Your job right now is stabilisation, not resolution. So what do you do first? Not a checklist, not a performance, not 10 things you have to complete before you're allowed to rest. Just a few anchors to hold on to while everything feels like it's spinning. Start by naming what's happened with honesty. Pornography has entered your marriage. Sometimes the simplest sentence is the one that clears the fog. Say it, pornography has harmed our marriage. Naming it doesn't make it worse, it makes it real. And when something is real, it can be faced. Then protect yourself emotionally, especially at night. Nighttime conversations are where many women get further injured. You're tired, your body's raw, your mind is already anxious, and everything feels bigger in the dark. You are allowed to say, I can't talk about this at 11 o'clock. You are allowed to say, I'm not processing this in our bed. You are allowed to say, we have to talk tomorrow in the daylight. That's not avoidance, it's wisdom. Then, instead of asking for promises, ask for safety. Words do not rebuild trust, conditions do. Safety is not Tell me you love me, or tell me you're not going to do it again. Safety is there are no more secrets. Safety is I am not living in the dark. Safety is truth is chosen even when it costs. And finally, create a pause. You are allowed to say, we're not fixing everything right now. I know you'll want to fix everything right now because that's in our nature. But when you're in shock, you can make promises you can't keep. You can say yes to things your body is screaming no to. You can offer sex out of fear. You can forgive out of panic. You can decide the future out of terror. A pause protects you. It says, I'm going to stabilise first. And that's not weakness, it's strength. Let me say one thing about accountability because women often feel conflicted here. Accountability is not policing, it's protection. And you should never be shamed for wanting protection after trust has been broken. Wanting conditions does not make you controlling, it makes you honest about what you need in order to feel safe. We'll talk more about this properly later, slowly and carefully, because it really matters. For now, I simply want this to settle. You are not wrong for wanting safety to exist outside promises. If you're listening and thinking, I need more support than this, that makes sense. The podcast offers orientation. We offer personal support, someone to help you think clearly, stabilise and put the right protections in place. You don't have to carry this alone. There's no rush, no pressure, just help when you're ready. You'll find the details in the show notes. If you're in the early days, shocked, angry, numb or frightened, please hear this. You're not weak, you're not overreacting, and you are not the reason this happened. You are experiencing the aftermath of a rupture. And ruptures need care, not urgency. They need steadiness, not spiralling. They need truth, not pressure. In the next episode, I'm going to turn slightly towards the husband's side of this, not to shift the focus away from women and certainly not to minimise what you've just heard, but because your healing cannot sit on your shoulders alone. If your husband is willing to listen, I want him to hear it. If he's not ready, you can still listen yourself because it will help you recognise what real responsibility looks like and what should not be asked of you in these early days. For now, be gentle with yourself. Eat something small if you can. Let your body unclench a fraction. And if everything in you wants to sprint ahead to solve the whole future, just bring yourself back to what is nearest. Take the next right step.